You've been on 15 dates this year, maybe more, and somehow you're lonelier now than when you started. Every new face feels promising. Every conversation begins with hope. Every goodbye somehow feels easier than staying. You tell yourself you're just keeping your options open, that you're not settling, that eventually you'll find the right person. But there's a question almost nobody asks. If every connection fades, what exactly are you running toward? Because sometimes what looks like freedom is actually movement without direction, and movement can become the perfect hiding place. The hardest nights aren't the ones when you're alone. They're the ones when the phone finally goes quiet, because silence has a strange habit. It introduces you to yourself. And that's usually when an older feeling shows up. Not from this date, not from this month, from years ago. The version of you that felt abandoned, rejected, not chosen. The one you thought you'd already healed. So, before that feeling gets too close, you swipe. You text someone new. You plan another date. For a little while, everything feels lighter again. The excitement drowns out the emptiness, but only temporarily, because dopamine is incredibly good at making pain feel quiet. It just isn't very good at making it disappear. And this is where the story changes, because the problem was never dating. It was the one person you kept trying not to meet. Here's the part almost nobody talks about. You're not addicted to dating. You're addicted to never having to stay long enough to be truly seen. Sometimes the other person is kind. Sometimes there's chemistry. Sometimes nothing is actually wrong. And that's exactly when you start looking for the exit. Not because there aren't enough, because getting closer starts waking up old fears. Distance suddenly feels safer than intimacy. The strange part is, you think you're meeting new people, but psychologically, you keep dating the same emotional pattern, only the faces change. So your mind becomes incredibly creative. I just haven't found the right one. I'm protecting my peace. I'm focusing on myself. Sometimes those things are true. Sometimes they're beautifully disguised avoidance. You meditate, you journal, you pray. You tell yourself you're healing, but healing isn't measured by how peaceful you feel alone. It's measured by what happens when closeness scares you. Growth isn't learning better words. It's noticing when your actions still belong to an older version of you. You say you want lasting love, but part of your nervous system still believes leaving first is the safest outcome. That isn't a character flaw. It's protection that outlived its purpose. Real change begins with something surprisingly ordinary: silence. Not the silence after someone leaves, the silence where you stop reaching for another distraction. Because the version of you you've been avoiding was never asking for another relationship. It was asking for your attention. And once that part of you finally feels seen, something unexpected happens. The endless search starts losing its urgency. For the first time, being alone doesn't feel like abandonment. It feels like coming home. This is where your nervous system begins to change, not by finding someone new, by finally staying with yourself when every instinct tells you to run. The wounded part of you never needed another perfect partner. It needed proof that you wouldn't abandon yourself again. Dating was never supposed to become a revolving door of possibilities. It was meant to be curiosity, presence, two people honestly discovering whether something real exists. Instead of asking, "Is this the one?" try asking, "Who am I becoming while I'm with this person?" Real intimacy doesn't always feel exciting. Sometimes it feels surprisingly quiet, because safety isn't dramatic. It's consistent. You stop needing constant reassurance. You stop planning the next connection before the current one has a chance to breathe. And suddenly, You're actually present. Your window of tolerance expands, not because life became easier, but because you stopped escaping every uncomfortable emotion. The healthiest relationships aren't built by people who never get scared. They're built by people who notice the fear and choose not to obey it. Love was never waiting at the end of your 15th date. It was waiting on the other side of the conversation you'd been postponing with yourself. When you stop performing confidence and start practicing honesty, connection finally has somewhere to land. Remember the hallway at the beginning? It looked like endless opportunity, but it was really an endless escape route. Now, there's only one open door, because you no longer need 15 dates to quiet your loneliness. You need one honest conversation with yourself. If this reached somewhere real, subscribe. The real ones aren't chasing endless options. They're building the emotional capacity to stay. This is quiet alignment. This is soul work.